I met her on Facebook. Shawty was so bad I could barely take my eyes off her photos. I met her on Facebook. Tried to find her on MySpace, wondering how she might look with no clothes. I met her on Facebook. I ain't a stalker, babe, but I'ma have to follow you on my Twitter.
In the movies fandom, amongst people who have decided to go pro and start watching movies seriously, no more Marvel, now I watch real movies like Fight Club. There has been this phenomenon of people who have realized that the characters in their favorite movies are literally them. Ryan Gosling in Drive is literally me. Ryan Gosling in Blade Runner is literally me. Ryan Gosling in Barbie is literally me. I fucking love Ryan Gosling. But it's not just Ryan Gosling characters who people have realized are literally them. Arthur, Travis Pickle, Patrick Bateman, you fucking wish, Rick and Morty, Squidward, Tyler Durden, Lou Bloom, Walter White, Eeyore, Takumi Fujiwara, Edward Norton in American History X. Are you sure that's literally you? Donnie Darko, Kuwabara, Jordan Belfort, Ethan Hunt, Shrek the Nostalgia Critic, Scarface, Jake the Dog, Scott Pilgrim, Robert Pattinson, and Adam West Batman, Oppenheimer, Luigi's Mansion, Jesse from the Fast and the Furious, Malcolm in the Middle. All of these characters are literally me. But why are they literally me? What the hell does that even mean, you're saying? I'm me, that's Ryan Gosling, he's a different guy than me. And to that I say, yeah. Duh, of course he's not you, he's me. Literally me is a term invented by some guys on the internet when they realized the way they identified with these loner, social reject, dark, rebellious, complex characters was much deeper than simply relating to them. What they saw on screen spoke to a fundamental part of their psyche that feels the same way about the world as the protagonist, and deep down wishes that they could do the same thing the tiny man inside the TV did. People are always looking for a way to prove themselves and be individuals, but thanks to fucking computers and I don't know, capitalism or something, the microplastics in the rain, 5G or whatever, everyone's all pissed off and lonely and sick of jacking off to frozen pizza in their 300 square foot apartment that costs $9,000 a day, and they just want to, take it to the house. Mark Zuckerberg is literally me. Alright, gather round, Zoomers. I'm going to tell you about an ancient old website from the before times. It was called Facebook, and it revolutionized the way middle-aged foreign men could ask young women for "Picture of sexy foot, you are so beautiful, I give kiss yes." Today you can go on it and buy an expired 12-pack of Mountain Dew Baja Mango with 9 cans remaining, but there was a time where Facebook was the place to be. Millennials said fuck the Iraq war. I'm trying to look at my ex's relationship status, and these Middle Eastern children better pray she's still single. For the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time ever, people could go on the computer and see what their friends were up to at any given moment. But the twist was, it was only for young, hot college students. It was incredible, the party that never ended. It was where a kid can be a kid. And then they let your parents join, and it kind of got lame because instead of being able to post, "Yo, I just drank 1,000 beers!" you had to post like boring, responsible shit they wouldn't call you up and complain about. You had to be posting like, "I just ate all my vegetables." The Social Network is a 2010 movie from David Fincher, esteemed director of The Game, which you just lost by the way, and writer Aaron Sorkin about how Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook, and all the he said, she said bullshit that surrounded it. The basic plot rundown is that in 2003, Mark Zuckerberg got dumped by this girl who, honestly, I don't even know how he had her in the first place. They have no chemistry. She hates him so much. Anyway, then he makes a Hot or Not clone. Did Hot or Not exist until I don't know, shut up. Which gives the Winklevoss twins, him, the idea to make a website based around seeing your friends on the computer instead of just seeing Lego Island, which is pretty much all computers did before Facebook. Then he got sued. Zuck is just an absolute beast in this movie.
You really don't need a forensics team to get to the bottom of this. If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook. You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount. The rest of my attention is back at the offices of Facebook, where my colleagues and I are doing things that no one in this room, including and especially your clients, are intellectually or creatively capable of doing. Did I adequately answer your condescending question?
But when you're a beast,
Yes.
the villagers come out to hunt. See, the thing about being a cutthroat businessman who does whatever it takes to get ahead is that you have to cut all your friends' throats. This aspect of the Facebook story is illustrated by Mark's friend Eduardo Saverin, the first investor in the company who fronted the initial $15,000 to pay for server costs, but is ultimately cut out of the company and has his ownership diluted from 30% to 0.3%. Because the movie is mostly based off the book The Accidental Billionaires, which was written under the consultation of the real-life Eduardo Saverin, he's depicted as the sympathetic casualty of a deranged asshole tech bro who stabbed him in the back for no reason. Despite the reason being very obvious in the movie, he didn't do anything for a year, then froze Facebook's bank accounts because he hated Sean Parker and it almost killed the company. The fact is, Eddie was just an initial investor, and because Mark didn't initially want to run ads on Facebook immediately, if ever, you could probably make the case that Eddie is kinda stupid to invest so much into a company that had literally no profit incentive at all. Except right after I wrote that, I looked it up, and apparently in real life they started running ads like 3 months in. As far as biopics go, The Social Network is hard to say how accurate it is or is not. Mark Zuckerberg himself claims the film is almost entirely fiction except for his wardrobe and some big key picture events. He says the breakup scene in the beginning never happened and he'd been dating his current wife since before he made Facebook. But they started dating in 2005. Facebook launched in 2004. The blog Zuck on It that Mark drunkenly writes on was actually real, and he does name drop an actual girl named Jessica Alona in it right before creating Face Smash. Who she is or why she's a bitch is unknown. As far as we know in real life, he never went on such a misogynistic rant against her, but he does contemplate comparing Harvard girls to farm animals. So the question becomes, is this an accurate depiction of Mark Zuckerberg as a real person, or is this just a character named Mark Zuckerberg? Doesn't matter because he's literally me. Zuckerberg is an outsider desperately trying to be an insider. In the famous opening conversation breakup scene with Jessica Albrecht, he talks about how he needs to find a way to distinguish himself when everyone else is also a genius. He can't sing an a cappella group because he can't sing, and he can't row crew because he's not big and strong enough. When Jessica jokes about him rowing, he's outright insulted and starts airing out his insecurities about his size and athletical prowess. He believes the only way to distinguish himself is to get into one of the exclusive and high-profile final clubs, a definitive way to show the world that he is somebody. These clubs are kind of like the infamous Skull and Bones secret society at Yale, where President George H.W. Bush watched his son President George W. Bush jack off in a coffin. After Jessica breaks up with him and delivers her iconic, "You're going to go through life thinking that girls don't like you because you're a nerd. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that won't be true. It'll be because you're an asshole" line, Mark is left alone, broken and in an utter state of TFW and no GF. He goes into full war mode for the rest of the movie. Between this breakup and his friend Eddie getting into a prestigious final club, Mark is forced to channel his desperation and insecurity into a spite-filled venture to prove to the world that he isn't a loser. A decision that is finalized after two popular, athletic, and conventionally attractive and entitled rich kids / knuckle-scraping dipshits give him the opportunity to rehabilitate his image and work on their cool new social network, the Harvard Connection. He's had enough of these elitist Harvard snobs treating him like a nobody nerd, inviting them into their fraternity house but not letting him pass the bike to remind him of his place, and he starts fighting back because for once, he has something that they do not: the drive, the hustle, and the flow. He can't physically fight them, he can't compete in row crew or emasculate them any other way besides stealing their idea and doing it better and taking all the money and glory for himself. Even though time would eventually have proven the Winklevi's forgettable losers because, like, their main goal in life was to row in the Olympics and win the gold, but tell me off the top of your head who won the gold medal for rowing in the last Olympics. You can't, nobody cares. Ultimately, to Mark, the Winklevoss twins represent the people who just have it all and never had to work for it. Zucktendo64 wasn't a poor kid by any means. His father was a dentist, so he was able to afford computers and shit in the 90s. But he wasn't boat club rich. He wasn't massive family fortune to fall back on and do nothing forever rich. For the Winklevoss twins, the Harvard Connection was an idea they had to make it easier to get pussy. Maybe it also was for Mark, but they didn't have the vision. They didn't have the foresight to understand that in 1 to 2 years, they won't be college students, so running a social network site for college students would be kind of weird anyway. In interviews discussing the movie or the lawsuits the movie is based on, Mark denies f***ing the Winklevoss twins. He claims he tried to work on both the Facebook and the Harvard connection at the same time to coexist, but leaked messages between Zuckinski and an unnamed friend, he actually explicitly says he's going to fuck them. So either this is him showing malicious intent, or he wanted to have gay sex with them. We'll let the courts decide how to interpret these messages. You know, I think I might be the first person ever to point out the irony in the fact that a man who made a website for connecting with people and making friends was so asocial and weird, and in his quest to bring us together, he ended up all alone by himself trying to add his ex on Facebook and refreshing the page in silence. You know, if that's not literally me, I don't even know who the fuck I am. Oh wait, I do know who I am. I'm literally Mark Zuckerberg from the social network. Is Mark a bad guy, or did he just get hypnotized by the Silicon Valley dream? Did Sean Parker, the founder of Napster and at the time owner of hundreds of millions of dollars of debt, corrupt this sweet young innocent boy who just wanted to help everyone hold hands and sing a song of joy? Did Mark Zucker get led astray by the prospect of $1 billion and let his big ol' noggin create a new devastating and horrific social dilemma that has eroded society, radicalized militant genocidal third world countries, committed privacy breaches of millions of people, and worst of all, given a place for your parents to post cringe memes? I don't know, if I gave a shit about any of this, I probably wouldn't have bought an Oculus Quest 2 and given Mark Zuckerberg my full retinal scan in exchange for Resident Evil 4 VR. I'm sure he's not doing anything bad with my retinal scan. Bang! And you know, as a fellow dumb f*** myself, I fully trust Mark Zuckerberg to do the right thing with my personal data. I mean, thanks to him, I am literally Leon S. Kennedy. And besides, ever since my headset started regularly scanning my retinas... I've really stopped caring what Cambridge Analytica did anyway. I mean, breach of user data and privacy, I don't care. Talk to me, I can't hear you over the sound of this zombie with a chainsaw I'm fighting. Boom, 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 boom. Alright guys, I'll catch you later. Look out, Ashley. Bang! But what analysis of his character would be complete without a full breakdown of the famous nightclub scene where Sean Parker breaks into a nightclub with some hot ladies and they talk about the owner of the greatest CD songs for a few $1 million. But we gotta circle back to what this video is really about. Is Mark Zuckerberg a literally me character? He's dark and vindictive, lonely, jealous, and ambitious punk who does whatever he wants whenever he wants while being a genius in his own right, a genius who created a monster that would one day probably destroy the world. But the difference between him and most literally me characters is that he's real. Okay, the movie version is likely very exaggerated and probably doesn't bear much resemblance to the real Zuck we all know and love, but people want to be the guy from Drive. He's cool, he's good with tools. People don't want to be...
I'm making meats now, smoking these meats here. But it is gonna bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human. I want my baby back ribs. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sweet baby raised barbecue sauce.
I am not a lizard.
They taste doubly better when you hunted the animal yourself. So, what are you guys making for dinner?
Mark Zuckerberg's had an odd relationship with the public. When the social network came out in 2010, this was most people's first introduction to him, and it's kind of insane to think about how early into Facebook's life this movie came out, but also how prophetic it was about the way this website would destroy us all. Who knows what horrible bullshit is on Facebook's horizon? I think if this movie came out today, or perhaps like 30 more years later where we know the true impact of social media, this movie might play out more like Oppenheimer. For as much as I loved Oppenheimer, it still couldn't defeat the old reliable meme of TFW when the bomb you made got used for its intended purpose. But when it comes to Facebook and social media in general, who possibly could have imagined that Mark's idea for a more convenient way to ask the cute girl in your college class to send you pictures of her feet would one day aid in ethnic cleansing? Aid as in make it much worse. In 2005, some people could see the potential harm of social media, but nobody really knew where it was going. Seemingly harmless ideas like, let's add a button to show that you like what your friend posted and what if you could comment too, turned into, oops, we create a system where people view likes and comments as an objective numerical value of their own self-worth, and it led to major spikes in depression and anxiety. On paper, good ideas like, hey, what if the ads we serve you could be more relevant to your life became,
We are tracking you across the internet and sending screenshots of your phone activity to third-party companies to sell you ads.
They implemented all these things, in theory, at least as they'll say publicly, to help us connect with each other and live better lives, but what it really was psychological techno operations to keep users addicted to their feeds to serve them ads through sinister dopamine loops. Despite all the drama surrounding Facebook's creation, at the end of the day, the goal was just to allow people to connect with their friends through the computer. Shit just got so evil along the way. People first saw him as an asshole thanks to this movie and his progressively harder to dispute narrative. Then in the years after, most people began to regard Mark as a lizard android man. Effectively, he had been cast out of humanity and rejected by us. He may look like us, he may be able to speak and you can understand him. You can shake his hand and feel flesh gripping yours, but he is simply not there. His pain is constant and sharp. He does not hope for a better world for anyone. In fact, he wants his pain to be inflicted on others. He wants no one to escape, but even after admitting this, there is no catharsis. His punishment continues to elude him and he gains no deeper knowledge of himself. No new knowledge can be extracted from their telling. This confession has meant nothing. Remember when that phone had a dedicated Facebook button? Here's your laptop.
Let's get some pussy tonight.